Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream. Today is 9th of October. Now it's 10 o'clock, around 10 o'clock, 3 past 10 in the evening Moscow time. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media and public is paying attention to, and hopefully you will find it informative and useful. As you can see on your screen, dear friends, I'm experimenting still with some features that StreamYard is offering. Hopefully you will like these changes. Let me know what you think about it. Well, as always, dear friends, after news segment, I will join community chat for a little while. And if there will be any super chat on Rumble, I'm streaming on YouTube and Rumble simultaneously. So if there will be super chat on Rumble, of course, I will react first of all on that super chat. If there will be any questions through or donations, by the way, during the stream through PayPal or Boosty, I will react on that first of all. And then I will just scroll through comments. And when I see a question directed at me, I will try to react on it and be as informative as I can. Please use capital letters if you have a question to me, dear friends. That will certainly help. And so, yes, that's about it for intro. Let's start the new segment itself, dear friends. And first of all, I will start with, of course, one of the main topics of the day, which is this fake Gaza peace plan of US President Donald Trump, as it called, Trump's peace plan, which has nothing to do with their actual peace. It's clearly a deception operation on part of Washington and the Israeli regime. I said it straight away, by the way, and I'm not going to change my mind on that. But nevertheless, reports are coming in that Israel and Hamas agreed on complete ceasefire and Israeli withdrawal from some 70% of Gaza. Also, hostage swap gonna occur in upcoming days. Hamas will release all the Israeli hostages, and Israel should release, according to some reports, up to 2,000 Palestinian hostages that are held in Israeli prisons without a trial, absolutely unjustifiably and illegally, right? And Israel has imprisoned much more Palestinians for no reason at all, thousands and thousands and thousands, and this number is increasing every single day. Western media is not telling you about it, but Israeli fascists are detaining more and more Palestinians literally on daily basis, not just in the Gaza Strip, but in the West Bank also, which is practically also occupied, right? Most of it is definitely occupied permanently by these illegal settlers and their IDF. And there is a little parts left where local Palestinian authorities formally have some say, but only formally, by the way. Israel is pulling the strings there too. So yes, there is some agreement about first stage of this fake peace plan of the Trump, and I say it's a fake because even though according to this first stage, even Israel, both sides should cease hostilities. Right now, you see on your screen satellite imagery, sort of, about areas where Israel did open fire anyways, despite this so-called agreement, right? So quite a lot of firepower was used to turn entire this freaking section into red color, right? And I myself watched today video, dear friends, from Gaza Strip when Israeli tankers were basically hunting down Palestinian civilians and shooting at them for no apparent reasons, for no reasons whatsoever, right? Did you hear anything about it in the Western so-called media? Of course you didn't, because they're not going to report nothing like that. As I said, hostage swap gonna take place, and probably it will. Probably it will, because at this point it is definitely no point for Hamas or Palestinians to keep Israeli hostages. and I guess they will release them. And Israel probably also will release 1,000, maybe even 2,000 Palestinian hostages, while keeping another potentially 10,000, even more, imprisoned illegally once again. But once these hostages are released, by the way, of course, we know that Israeli Secret Services, U.S. Secret Service is going to come up with a false flag operation and use then this false flag operation as a pretext to resume genociding Palestinian people. That's what is going to happen, and that's why this so-called Trump's peace plan is a fake peace plan. It has nothing to do with actual peace, and you will see this. Unfortunately, it will not take long before you will see this is unreeling on the ground. But nevertheless, Trump made a statement, quite a lot of statements actually, about Palestine and Israel. He is using to maximize media effect from these developments while he can, and he stated that hostage swap might take place on October 13, from 12 to October 13, in a few days' time. We will see. Most likely, as I said, Hamas will release hostages, because there is not really any reason at this point for them to keep those hostages. They should know already also that once Israeli hostages are released, war gonna continue, and Israel, with assistance of U.S., will continue genociding Palestinians, and I guess Hamas is prepared for resumption of their hostilities. But one might argue that Israel already lost this war, because whole world, with the exception of few, has turned their back on Israel, because no one, at least openly, wants to be supporter of fascists and the genocidal maniacs, right? That's how it is. Also, Trump went through, Trump, by the way, he is talking some shit constantly, right? Sorry for my language, but that's what it is, right? It's a shame on US that this kind of illiterate, stupid moron is a president. But I guess this was a better choice that they had compared to Biden, that was not even there. But anyways, Trump also went to brag about attacking Iran once again, and he said that Iran could already have nuclear weapons, but if not the US strikes, which is, of course, yet another lie that is coming from Trump and his inner circle, and also Israeli genocidal regime. There is no evidences whatsoever, by the way, whatsoever, that Iran was working on the building of the nuclear weapons. What Iran did is to achieve a latent nuclear deterrent, and they did it. They enrich uranium up to 60% and let the world know that they are in a position to build the nuclear weapons if they want to. And this latent deterrent is not something new. Quite a number of countries in this world have such a status, let's say, right? But in case of Iran, this nuclear deterrent, latent nuclear deterrent, did not help them, right? Because Israel and US went to bomb Iran, killed hundreds of civilians, and also destroy nuclear facilities that's supposed to be protected under the non-proliferation treaty, on which US has signed up, right? Not in Israel, but US did sign up for that treaty. But you understand, whenever US is signed up for anything, it means nothing. Whenever any Western country is signed up for anything, it means nothing, literally nothing, right? It's just empty paper. You cannot trust the so-called elites of the West ever, by the way, right? But nevertheless, Trump continues to brag about bombing Iran. And nowadays, dear friends, it's not just me that is skeptical about this so-called Trump's peace plan. Even in Israel, media outlets there, Haaretz, for example, is asking question: will Trump still be there after stage one to prevent Netanyahu from resuming the war? Even Israeli media is not believing that Netanyahu will actually stop the genociding the Palestinian people. Because he will not. He will not. These fascists in charge of Israel will not stop to continue this killing spree and the mass murder. And everyone knows this. Everyone knows this, but unfortunately, very few is talking about it openly. Very few even criticizes Israel, by the way, because they are afraid, even in alternative media, by the way, because they are afraid that, anyways. And well, when it comes to Trump, we have another report, this time from AFP, that it is 100% now that Trump would not get Nobel Peace Prize. The Nobel Committee finalized its decision on Monday prior to Trump brokered this so-called peace deal, fake peace deal, right? So, okay, I guess at least a few members of this Nobel Committee still pretending to have any decency, right? Because they have not, but they are pretending to have any decency, right? After they give Nobel Peace Prize to Obama, by the way, how anyone can respect this gathering of the criminals, really, that Nobel Committee is, man. Fake garbage elements, right? But nevertheless, Trump is obsessed with this Nobel Peace Prize, is if it's worth anything, right? And he spoke about it. He pressured other countries to prize him for a Nobel Peace Prize, but seems like it did not work. It did not work, and he's not gonna get one. And when I say, and one of the reasons why could be, by the way, could be unchallenged support of U.S. administrations, former and current, in a genocide that Israel is committing very before our eyes in Palestine. And when it comes to U.S. assistance in this genocide, some people might be surprised, but we have data from Quincy Institute, which says that U.S. has spent over 31 billion sustaining Israel's 2-year war on Gaza and the wider region. $31 billion, by the way. Can you imagine how much good could be done for US citizens with $31 billion? But no, previous and current administration chose to spend billions and billions and billions of US taxpayers' money to assist fascist Israel genociding the Palestinians. Factual. That's just facts, by the way. Facts, right? Let's continue with some other topics, and well, very same. Trump and the Tomahawk missiles. Now, according to Western media reports, this time Washington Post, the possible transfer of American long-range Tomahawk missiles to Kiev indicates that U.S. President Donald Trump is taking a course to escalate the conflict in Ukraine. We have a quote here: "If Trump gives Ukraine the green light to purchase Tomahawks, it would mark a significant shift in his war policy, depending on what restrictions Washington imposes on their use." According to publication, Trump has so far sought to end the conflict in Ukraine and normalize relations with Russia, first by calling on both sides to agree to a ceasefire, and then by meeting with the Russian President Putin in Alaska. The U.S. administration has not even stated whether it will sell Tomahawks to Ukraine, although Trump said on Monday that he had almost made a decision, but wanted to know how Kiev would use their weapons. Well, how Kiev will use the weapons. They're not going to use these weapons, by the way. Even if U.S. already sent the Tomahawk missiles, Kiev regime is in no position to use these Tomahawk weapons. They might observe it, watch it, pet it, right, kiss it, but they cannot launch it. Without U.S. direct involvement, without direct involvement of Pentagon, these Tomahawk missiles cannot be launched, period, brother, period, right? And also, probably you noticed, dear friends, that there is a sort of a flip-flop in the media community on the topic of this Tomahawks being transferred to NATO countries in Europe or to Kiev regime, because Trump himself in a video that I shared a couple of days ago was quite clear that he not just made the mind about sending those weapons. I listened to this video, and to me, he was clearly saying that weapons already been sent, and he will ask. All he will do now is will ask how they gonna use it. That's it, right? That's it. So those weapons already are, by the way, in at least in Europe. Tomahawk missiles and their Typhoon launchers. I don't know how many Typhoon launchers US has that are specially built to use for launches of Tomahawk missiles. Not that many really, but I guess at least 2-3 Typhoon launchers already been transferred to Europe, most likely to Germany, and from Germany those Typhoon launchers probably either already went towards Kiev control territory or maybe already are delivered, right, together with the US military personnel, because yet again, even Germans cannot use it, by the way. Germans that are part of NATO, even they cannot launch these missiles. It has to be direct involvement of the Pentagon, right? But anyways, are these Typhoon launchers or Tomahawk missiles in Europe or on Kiev control territory? We will find out soon, anyways, isn't it? But what is also interesting, this flip-flop, when Western media and also parts of alternative media are creating this confusion, sort of, maybe unintentionally, but creating this confusion, as if Trump did not yet made any decision on those missiles, when he was very clear, in my understanding of his English, that missiles already been sent, and all he is asking now where those missiles gonna go. And of course, those missiles not gonna be used against Brussels or Berlin or Paris. We know that, right? We know in which direction they're gonna launch those missiles. Anyways, do it through all this story around Tomahawk missiles, do it through all the hostile steps that Trump's administration already took. And many people forget, by the way, that a couple of weeks ago, Trump's administration approved a new military aid package for Kiev regime, this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, worth $500 million. A little earlier, very same Trump's administration authorized transfer of 3,000 plus cruise missiles to Kiev regime, and many other steps were taken by Trump and his team to escalate with Russia, right? But nevertheless, Moscow, Russian leadership, Russian president, and other high-ranking officials for a very long time were very patient, and day in, day out were demonstrating politeness towards Trump and his team, which was quite irritating for many, by the way, not just here in Russia, but also worldwide among Russia supporters, right? But lately, I mean, yesterday, today, we are receiving some news that indicates that Moscow is kind of rethinking its stance in regards to relationships with Washington, probably putting doubts now, I think, that he can actually achieve any agreement with Trump. I guess at one point, Putin and his inner circle were quite confident that if they will negotiate with the U.S. administration with a good faith, if they will promote or how should I say, if Russian side would offer some very perspective directions for cooperation and so on, that will benefit American economy, that will benefit American people, then Trump and his team, that formally should be representatives of America First movement in US, then will choose to cooperate with Russia and to pull out US from this proxy war that globalists and neocons are waging against Russia. But this plan clearly didn't work, did it? This plan clearly didn't work. And I guess this being realized now, finally, by Russian leadership, and that's why tone is changing a little bit, but tone is changing. No strong statements from Moscow in regards to Trump or his teams yet, but tone is clearly changing. And Peskov today stated that there is a serious pause uh, in their dialogue on Ukraine between Russia and US. And I guess this is maximum when it comes to strong statements that Peskov can offer right now, or maybe ever, at least in regards to Trump's administration. Don't ask me why, by the way. I myself is quite confused why Russian side was this politer towards those freaking morons, right? That are formally in charge of US. But anyways, let me give you some details from this statement. The dialogue on Ukraine has been put on a serious pause. Russian President Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov told the reporters this is due to the fact that indeed a serious pause has now emerged in a dialogue process in the development of Istanbul negotiations. The Kremlin spokesman said, responding to a question about wider peace momentum of the Russia-US summit in Alaska has been exhausted. Peskov added that the Ukrainian leadership still has not provided any answers regarding their document. Nothing is moving forward, he concluded. And yet again, no strong statements necessary towards the US administration, no statements that it's because of the US administration that this dialogue stalled, right? But some hints are there. Some hints are there. Yesterday, I shared some other reports that Russian media shared with the public about statements of number of high-ranking Russian officials, and you can clearly sense this change of tone. But will this lead to where this will lead? We just have to wait and see, right? To continue, dear friends, RIA Novosti is reporting that Kiev regime called on residents of Slavyansk in the Donetsk People's Republic to evacuate, which is a big deal because evacuation is beginning due to advances of the Russian armed forces on a line of contact in the northern parts of DPR, and the Russian troops are not far away, neither from Slavyansk, neither from Kramatorsk, final main stronghold of a Kiev regime at NATO in northern parts of DPR that were prepared since 2014, by the way, with all sorts of defense lines and so on. So Vadim Likho, the head of the Slavyansk city military administration appointed by Kiev regime, called on the city residents to evacuate due to approaching front line, and I guess soon thousands of people will leave Slavyansk. Majority of them would not be happy about it because they would of course prefer to stay and wait until Russian liberators will come. But this is a high intensity conflict, and of course it will be better decision, no matter how pro-Russian or Russian supporters they are. It will be better to evacuate for now, await until city is liberated, then maybe through Europe or through other ways, but come back to Russia. And once territory will be safe enough, they will just go back to their homes. But it is extremely dangerous to stay in a city and wait for Russian liberators to come, because yet again, it's a high-intensity conflict and very dangerous stuff to stay. So hopefully, vast majority will evacuate, and only once city is liberated and safe for return, they will go back to their homes. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russian armed forces killed a high-ranking NATO specialist near Odessa, which is a good news for sure. Russian military personnel killed a high-ranking NATO specialist in the port of Ilichevsk in Odessa region. Sergei Lebedev, coordinator of the Nikolaev underground, told the RIA Novosti. And this underground, by the way, is basically pro-Russian partisans that are operating on the Kiev-controlled territory. The agency source clarified that this NATO specialist was eliminated along with their team of people who met him, and those people were representatives, high-ranking officers, basically, of Kiev regime, right? And because there was a high-ranking NATO specialist at Ilichevsk, that probably means that there was a deliveries of certain weapon systems from NATO that needed presence of NATO representatives. This is my guess, by the way. Why otherwise this NATO representative would be in Ilichevsk port? Probably there was deliveries of certain weapon systems, and hopefully Russian strike not just eliminated this NATO garbage, but also all the weapons that were shipped to this port. Hopefully, right? RIA Novosti is also reporting that power supply restoration has begun at Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, according to head of IAEA, Rafael Grossi. So power lines have begun to be restored at the Zaporozhye NPP, according to International Atomic Energy Agency Director Rafael Grossi. A process aimed at restoring external power supply to the Zaporozhye NPP has been launched. This is quote, by the way. This occurred following numerous contacts with the both parties, Russia and Ukraine, in recent weeks, aimed at resolving the issue, Grossi said in a statement on the IAEA website. And as you know, dear friends, on 23rd of September, Western-backed terrorist regime, under orders of its NATO backers, launched a strike on electric power lines that supplies electricity to Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, to major infrastructure in a nuclear power plant, including cooling system. And as a result, since 23rd of September, Zaporozhye nuclear power plant was powered by diesel electric generators, which was obviously emergency situation. Russian specialists were saying that the situation is under control. Fuel levels are on normal level to power these diesel electric generators and so on. But nevertheless, fact itself that the biggest nuclear power plant in Europe, by the way, was for like 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks now, powered exclusively by diesel electric generators, and still continue to be powered by these generators, is definitely an emergency situation. Hopefully, in the next day or two, this outside power supply to ZMPP will restore, and maybe NATO countries and their proxy regime will stop committing nuclear terrorism while attacking Zaporozhye nuclear power plant and other Russian nuclear power plants. If not, then, well, Russian president at least said that this kind of attacks can be mirrored by Russian side. And, well, that was a warning, isn't it? At this point, I don't think literally anybody in the West cares about warnings from either Russian president or any other high-ranking official. But nevertheless, warning was issued, right? What else? When it comes to terrorist activity of Kiev regime, dear friends, we have this report that Ukrainian forces blew up Toliati-Odessa ammonia pipeline. So Ukrainian troops blew up the Toliati-Odessa ammonium pipeline, the Russian Defense Ministry reported. We have quotes here from statement. During the retreat of the Ukrainian Armed Forces units at approximately 13:05 today, on October 9, the side pipeline was blown up, department noted. The explosion caused the release of residual ammonia through the damaged area of the pipeline. Also, ministry clarified that Ukrainian militants had mined the branch of the Toliati-Odessa ammonia pipeline in advance, 2.5 kilometers east of the village of Rusin Yar in the DPR. With these actions, the enemy sought to slow the advance of the Russian armed forces. And, well, if anything, by the way, of course, first of all, this terrorist attack, yet another terrorist attack of Kiev regime, did endanger other civilians, because who knows which direction wind will took this poisonous cloud of vapor from this ammonia, right? And I can show you a video, dear friends, of this situation, about this situation. This is the video, and you can see on your screen what has happened as a result of this terrorist attacker. And look, the cloud. This is poisonous cloud, by the way. Right? That's what Kyiv regime is, man. That's what Kyiv regime is. Terrorists, and that's what their Western backers are. Terrorists and mass murderers. They have no care about casualties among civilians whatsoever. Right? Because yet again, if anything, this terrorist attack will endanger civilians on the Kyiv-controlled territory too, by the way. Because how anyone gonna know which direction wind will blow and move this cloud of poisonous vapor evaporations from that ammonia? Crazy, man. We are living in a freaking crazy world, man. Crazy times. And dear friends, I forgot to mention before I continue, dear friends, let me notice, if I may, that this project is completely subscriber funded. Exists only as long as I have your support, community support, and if you like my work, and if you can and want to help me to maintain this project and stay on this project full time, please consider to support her. You can do it through several means. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty platforms. Links are under this video in description box, and will be in the pinned comment after the live stream. Also, you can subscribe to my Patreon page or page on Boosty, where monthly subscription starts from $5. It might not be much for you, dear friends, but these little donations help me basically to maintain this project. So, if you can, please consider to join our community on Patreon too. A link is also under this video in description box. And right now, during the live stream, you can use the super chat feature on Rumble, where my channel is monetized. You can use super chat feature to donate to this project and also to highlight any question or comment you might have. And you can become premium subscriber on Rumble too. This is also option there. Many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support and keeps me in this very difficult field of news and political commentary. Thank you very much. And dear friends, for now there was no super chatter as far as I can tell. Otherwise, Anya would send me screenshot. There was no donation, but things might change. I don't know. I still have some number of news left. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue with some more news and. This information was next, isn't it? RT reported that NATO in a forceful response to Russia. Okay, let's see what this news is about. NATO is considering allowing its pilots fire at unauthorized Russian aircraft and drastically increase its military footprint on the Russia's borders. The Financial Times reported on Thursday, citing sources. The report came following weeks of Western claims that Russia has repeatedly violated EU airspace, which Moscow has denied. And dear friends, none of us should be surprised about deployment of Air Force assets of the NATO countries towards the borders with Russia, because I have said many times before that during the inevitable, in my personal opinion, next phase of escalation that NATO will launch in fairly short time, enemies of Russia, NATO countries, NATO militaries, globalists, and neocons that pull it that are in charge. Actually, let's say this way, they will attempt a decapitation strike on Russia. They will attempt an unprecedented scale of drone and missile strikes simultaneously with the decapitation strike. Same time, they will launch massive terrorist attacks inside the Russian territory while using their assets, and also massive cyber attacks on Russian Federation. Their goal is to create a chaos all over the Russia. That's what they're gonna try with this next phase of escalation, and to launch these missiles that I mentioned. They need their air force, right? Cruise missiles, by the way. Yes, Tomahawk missiles can be launched from Typhoon launchers. Attacks can be launched from ground-based HIMARS launchers. But when it comes to cruise missiles, like Storm Shadow, British Storm Shadow, French Scalp PG, several US cruise missiles that potentially already been sent there to be used against Russia, and also potentially German Taurus missiles that are already on the Kyiv-controlled territory, according to Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service. To launch those cruise missiles, they need air force, because Kyiv regime itself does not have that many planes to launch a massive volley of these missiles, right? So all these talks about Russian drones and Russian planes violating borders of the NATO countries was a pretext to justify deployment of their air force closer to Russian borders, so that when order is given by globalists and neocons to launch this attack on Russia, unprecedented scale, massive attack on Russia, those NATO planes will take off, launch the missiles, and then NATO countries will try to play with the plausible deniability while saying that it was a Kyiv regime that launched all these missiles, right? Which is obviously not believable. No one gonna believe in that, but that will be a whole different story, of course. Who will believe in water once this next phase of escalation will be launched? World's fate will hang over the abyss. That's how it's gonna be. And at this point, I see no indicator that either globalists or neocons or their puppet regimes all over the Western world, from US to UK and France, Germany, and others, have decided to de-escalate. No, there is no indicators of that. So therefore, most likely they will go ahead with this next phase of escalation. Only question I have personally is timing, when they're gonna launch this next phase. Most likely before end of this year, potentially before end of this autumn. And hopefully we are ready, by the way. Hopefully Russian militaries, Russian political leadership, Russian society is hopefully we all are as ready as one can be, right? To whatever is about to come to our way. RT is reporting also that EU MEPs, by the way, back shooting down Russian planes. So it's not just NATO that preparing ground, by the way, for next phase of escalation, but the European Union and their so-called European Parliament is also on the same page. Yet another indicator that next phase of escalation is coming. And as I said in my previous updates, EU is more often resembles to their military alliance nowadays, and their EU officials quite often are making statements as if they are representing NATO, not the EU, formerly economical union, but NATO military alliance, which is quite significant change, right? In Europe. I don't think when EU member states or when people were voting to join EU, they were thinking that they are joining military freaking alliance. probably they were thinking that they are joining economical bloc, but nowadays, well, EU clearly is acting like a military bloc. NATO is not enough for them. They want, I guess, EU to be transferred into anti-Russian military bloc, and it's already happening. By the way, it's already happening, and I guess Maria Zakharova, official representative of Foreign Ministry of the Russian Federation, thinks that Anglo-Saxon elites are leading this charge to transform EU into military bloc, anti-Russian military bloc, and also it is to further escalate with Russia. And according to Zakharova, it's Anglo-Saxon elites that are basically trying as much as they can to establish full control over the EU while manipulating with all these topics of Russia threat and this and all the other nonsense, right? So let me give you some details of her statement. The Anglo-Saxons, and she means obviously not Anglo-Saxons in general. She's talking about Anglo-Saxon elites, and that is, by the way, a leading force among globalist movement, which is a British aristocracy and the royal family, right? And also among Anglo-Saxon elites, we have to count neocons and the American ruling class, obviously, right? That's the main force there. Australia, New Zealand, of course, counts as the Anglo-Saxon world, undoubtedly, but I don't think her elites from those countries really have much say. It's Washington and London that is pulling the strings, right? But anyways, let me continue. The Anglo-Saxon elites are pressuring EU countries to gain complete control over them. This was stated by Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova to reporters on the sidelines of St. Petersburg International Gas Forum, commenting on the EU's plans to abandon Russian energy supplies. So there is a colossal pressure on the countries of European Union through their Anglo-Saxon elites, I will add this word, elites, and through those proxies who are supposedly located within the Brussels structures, but who in fact act not in the interests of other external players, but directly against the interests of the citizens of the EU member states. One of their goals is to ensure that the countries of the EU and the Western Europe are completely under the control of Anglo-Saxon world, the diplomat said, and I think she has a point, for sure. She has a point. Scandinavian countries, by the way, are definitely British protectorates, one might say, British proxies, right? London has a main say when it comes to all these Scandinavian countries. From Denmark to Norway, by the way, all of them, Sweden and so on, it's London is their boss. When it comes to a number of other countries, I mean, US has a bigger influence, right? Italy, for example, France tries to maintain some sort of separate place, but they are failing. French elites are failing big time, right? They did become puppets of the Anglo-Saxon elites eventually. But yes, I mean, US and UK are main driving force in Europe, and they are already, generally speaking, in control of most of the countries of European Union, to put it mildly. Right? Brits control Scandinavian countries, also Poland, by the way. One should keep in mind that Polish elites historically are British puppets, right? And US also has quite significant influence, by the way. Germany, Italy, some others, right? So they already are in charge. And as I said, French elites, just time to time at least, still are trying to bark a little, show the world that they still exist, but no one really cares about them. French elites are freaking nobody's, nothing at this point. Anglo-Saxon elites are driving force. And if they order French elites to kneel and kiss their boots of the Anglo-Saxons, that's what they will do. So French elites, by the way, are freaking empty space, nothing. Total fucking garbage, man. That's it. And shame on France, by the way. Shame on France. This country had their, you know, anyways, I will not go in history, but factually speaking, France is no longer an independent state, right? It's controlled by Rothschilds, right? And some other clans that are related to British royalties, right? To the globalists and British aristocracies. So, and Rothschilds, by the way, serve well to British royal family and British aristocracy, isn't it? As a bankers. They did serve them quite well, by the way. And all this Western financial and banking system that we see now is built basically by this Rothschild clan. And that's why City of London is still #1 financial center. That's the only reason, by the way. Otherwise, UK itself is already a loosely relevant country somewhere on outskirts of Eurasia, right? But City of London still maintains power, by the way. How that is possible? That's how, you know. Anyways, let's continue. The budget committee of the Bundestag yesterday, by the way, I believe this news is either from yesterday or today. But anyways, Bundestag approved 14 projects totaling more than 7 billion euros. One of them involves the purchase of 20 Eurofighter jets for the Luftwaffe, as well as training simulators, spare parts, engines, and electronic warfare equipment. Deliveries will take place from 2031 to 2034. So yet another step of Berlin towards the militarization, accelerating militarization. And of course, everyone pays attention to this process because of the history, after all, right? There was a world war that world was facing, and both times Germany was main protagonist, right? And some people, at least, maybe not all people in this world, but some people do still remember some lessons of history. And so, yes, many capitals worldwide, including Russian capital, by the way, Moscow, is paying attention to process of militarization, accelerated militarization of Europe in general, and Germany in particular. And I think European states, European NATO and EU member states, formal allies of Germany, are also paying close attention to these developments because, if anything, they know better than many others what is happening when Germany has actually stronger, capable military. And, Polish elites, instead of fighting Russia, should be more focused on their Western neighbors because war is coming. War is coming, by the way. Mark my word, give it 10, 15 years, and they're going to be war between Germany and Poland. 100%, Paolo. 110%, million percent. This is inevitable. Absolutely inevitable. And, maximum 10, 15 years, and we will see it with our own eyes. TASS news agency is also reporting that Trump's Gaza plan and the Central Asian project was main topics, some among the main topics of the Putin statements at the Dushanbe summit. Let me give you some key points from Putin's statements there, dear friends. So Russia hopes that US President Donald Trump's initiatives to resolve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict will be implemented. This was stated by President Vladimir Putin at the Russia Central Asia Summit, and I cannot stand this, man. I cannot stand this freaking nonsense. I understand Putin is a politician and he have to do what he have to do, right? But come on, man, can you don't talk at least about Trump and his administration and don't prize them for anything and just don't say nothing, for God's sake, right? Don't want to say anything critical about them, okay, but don't say anything at all then, because they did not deserve this polite attitude from anybody, and especially from Russian leadership. This is so irritating, so frustrating, man. This is so freaking frustrating. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, as I said, by the way, he's a politician. He has to say and do what he has to say and do, but it's freaking frustrating, probably for him too, that he's just in a position that he have to say this kind of stuff, right? But it's fucked up, man. I'm telling you. He also spoke about plans to integrate transport corridors and logistic projects in Russia and Central Asia into a single system, and stated about Moscow's readiness to participate in energy projects in a region. And of course, Central Asia is a very important region, by the way, as all the other regions, but Central Asia is an especially important region for Russia, obviously, because it's Central Asian republics are our neighbors. And of course, Central Asia is also one of the front lines, by the way, of war between West and Russia. And also between West and China. Because I said many times before that globalists and their neocon allies will, with use of their proxies, including Turkey, already are investing hard to create ground in the Central Asian republics, especially ones that are bordering China, to create destabilization at some point, uncontrolled territories in which then globalist neocons, Turkey and their proxies will deploy Uyghurs, Chinese national Uyghurs, right, and some other Turkic-speaking individuals from terrorists, basically, that they trained in Idlib province of Syria to infiltrate Chinese northern western parts where predominantly Turkic-speaking ethnic minorities are living, Muslim ethnic minorities, and to destabilize those parts of the China. So Central Asia is indeed a frontier of war between West and Russia and between West and China. So obviously both countries, Russia and China, pay close attention to what is going on there. But now let's go through some statements that Russian president made during his speech there. It's a Russia Central Asia summit, by the way, that is taking place. And after this summit, Commonwealth, another summit will launch, Commonwealth of Independent States, which is an organization created by former Soviet republics. So on the situation in the Middle East, the Russian president said Russia hopes that Trump's initiative to resolve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict will actually be implemented in practice. Okay, maybe Russia hopes that, but I know that this is a fake peace plan that Trump come up with. Russian president knows this is a fake peace plan, deception operation, basically. Other Russian leaders know this is a deception operation and has nothing to do with actual peace. So you know what? Just don't say nothing. Don't say nothing, because this so-called peace plan is not about peace, man. We all know this. So why you are saying anything at all? You don't have to, right? Russia believes that her problems in the Middle East can only be resolved through political and diplomatic means, and we are naturally ready to support any peaceful efforts aimed at stopping the bloodshed and bringing the peace to this region. And yes, great statement. Great statement. Of course, everyone needs peace. But yet again, there is forces that are against peace, and there are forces that are for peace. And US and Israel are not the forces for peace or the stability. We all know this, right? Everyone knows this. Trump was asked, by the way, right? Trump was asked today, I believe, I saw some short video about resumption of the hostilities by Israel straight after hostages are released, and he dodged the question. He dodged the question, by the way. Why? Because, he knows, everyone knows that straight after Israeli hostages are released, certain false flag operation or something will happen. Most likely false flag operation will be orchestrated by Israeli secret services, US secret services, British secret services, right? and they will then use this false flag operation. They will blame Palestinians for that, obviously, and they will use it as justification to continue genocide of Palestinian people. I mean, it's just so freaking obvious, man. Why I have to talk about it? Why leaders of this world, including Russian president, is not talking about this, man? Why we are not saying the truth? Why, man? What the hell? This is so counterproductive, man. This is so freaking counterproductive that fuck it. Also, Putin went to say that Russia and its CIS partners, CIS is the Commonwealth of Independent States, partners believe the creation of the independent Palestine is the key to stabilizing the Middle East. This was the position of Soviet Union, and it was inherited by all the republics of the former USSR. We believe that the primary indispensable condition for a long-term stabilization of the situation in the Middle East and the resolution of all issues related to this complex problem is creation of the independent Palestinian state. And I have to disagree strongly with the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, because creation of the Palestinian state will not resolve nothing, literally. This state is already created. Russia has Soviet Union at the time, it was like late 70s or early 80s, when Soviet Union actually recognized Palestinian state. Where is that state, by the way? We have recognized that state, right? As majority of this world recognized. So where is the state itself? There is none, right? It's occupied territories. Occupied by which country? By Israel, correct? It is by Israel occupied. And therefore, only way to achieve sustainable peace, if we are actually truthful, is to demilitarize and denazify Israel. Because Palestinian state is supposed to be there already, because most of the countries in this world have recognized this state. But it's destroyed, it's occupied and destroyed by Israel, this fascist freaking entity. And this is true. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Politics are so freaking strange, to put it mildly, right? In my personal opinion, only way sustainable peace can be achieved on the Middle East is demilitarization and denazification of Israel. That's it, man. There is no any other ways, realistically speaking, to achieve sustainable peace in the Middle East, right? Ideally, Western so-called elite should be neutralized too, ideally. But at least there will be some chances, right? Maybe little chances, but still there will be some chances for sustainable peace in the Middle East if this fascist entity Israel is demilitarized and denazified. Period. I mean, there is nothing to discuss there even, right? On cooperation with the Central Asian countries, Russian president went to say that Russian investments in Central Asia amounts to $20 billion US, and that's not enough. Russia is one of the leading investors in the economies of the region of Central Asia. The total volume of Russian investments is over 20 billion. This, I think, is also not enough. What the hell is wrong with the TASS news agency? Why they are repeating same stuff, man, twice? Holy moly. And I'm reading, by the way, and sometimes you probably notice it, isn't it? Why one is reading twice or saying twice same stuff? Because that's how they are writing, by the way, stuff. What is wrong with their whoever is editor-in-chief or editors of the TASS news agency and other media outlets too, man? Holy shit, man. Where they did learn what journalism is or how to write some stuff, man. Freaking idiots, man. All transport corridors and logistics projects in Russia and Central Asia could be combined into a single system. The key objective is to develop a north-south and east-west trunker routes passing through our countries, as well as to establish new transcontinental corridors. Subsequently, all these and other Eurasian logistic projects could be integrated into a single network with a modern electronic and transport service. Okay, I mean, here well, I cannot say nothing. Putin is on point. Russia is ready to assist Central Asia in their construction on nuclear and their hydroelectric power plants, as well as participate in other energy projects. Russian companies are ready to participate in the construction of a new hydro. They're repeating again, man. Russia is ready to share modern technologies with Central Asia, including digitization of governance. And here, I think you'll agree we have something to offer. He said on the Iranian nuclear issue, Putin said that Iranian nuclear issue can only be resolved through diplomacy and negotiations. We are in close contact with our Iranian partners and sense their determination to find a mutually acceptable solution and resume constructive cooperation with the IAEA. Israel has stated that it is not interested in confrontation with Iran, and also Russian president went to say that Israel has stated that it is not interested in confrontation with Iran and is committed to settlement. We continue to maintain confidential contacts with Israel and are receiving signals from the Israeli leadership asking us to convey this to our Iranian friends, that Israel is committed to a further settlement and is not interested in any kind of confrontation. And it is very unfortunate that Russian president delivered this fake news to this summit, by the way, and to Iranian people. How he can believe anything that comes out from Israel, man, from those genocidal maniacs, man. I don't know. I mean, Putin needs better advisors. Putin clearly needs better advisors, and as soon as possible, because this is just too bad, man. This is just too bad. What can I say, man? Putin needs better advisors. This is just too bad. And not just because of these particular statements of his, some of them, but because some other things too, right? Personal opinion, yet again, on the situation in Afghanistan, Russian president went to say that Afghan authorities are open to cooperate in their fight against the terrorism and the drug trafficking, and Russia supports their aspirations. So we are certainly ready to support these aspirations. Okay, I mean, no questions in regards to topic of Afghanistan. Recently, when it comes to Afghanistan, by the way, recently, foreign minister of Afghanistan was here in Russia. He met with Russian foreign minister Sergei Lavrov, and both sides stated that, emphasized basically that there going to be no U.S. comeback in Afghanistan, right? And Kabul not gonna allow U.S. to regain control of the Bagram air base that Trump has spoke about quite a few times. Okay, let's continue. And on the sidelines of this Russia Central Asia summit, by the way, Putin met with the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev. During the meeting in Dushanbe, President Vladimir Putin briefed his Azerbaijani counterpart, Ilham Aliyev, on the details of their Azal plane crash. And well, this is also quite, something happened there during this conversation between Putin and Aliyev that also indicates that Putin definitely needs better advisors. I give you whole report from RIA Novosti, and then I will explain myself what I mean. In our first phone conversation, and this is quote, by the way, of Putin's statement, I not only apologize for the fact that the tragedy occurred in Russian skies. This is about Azal plane that eventually crashed, but also crashed in Kazakhstan, by the way. But incident occurred in Russian airspace, but also expressed my most sincere condolences to the families of their victims. Putin recalled, he noted that Russia is, in accordance with their agreements, is providing every assistance to the investigation into a crash. Putin indicated that the causes of the plane crash were in part linked to the Ukrainian drone that was in the sky at the time. Russia, in fact, was flying three Ukrainian tracking basically 3 Ukrainian armed forces drones that crossed the border that day. And then another quote here: the second reason is a technical failure in the Russian air defense systems itself. The 2 missiles that were fired did not directly hit the plane. If that had happened, it would have crashed on the spot, but exploded, perhaps self-destructing, a few meters away, somewhere around 10 meters. The Russian leader said the plane was most likely struck by debris, not by submunitions. The president clarified. He added that this is indicated in particular by the fact that the pilot mistook the incident for a collision with a flock of birds. The Azal crew was offered their option to land in Makhachkala, but the pilots decided to proceed to their home airport. Putin noted that the causes of the crash become clear after thorough analysis of the incident, including information from the plane's black boxes. Russia, for its part, will provide legal assistance of the action of all of the officials. Everything required in such tragic cases will be done by the Russian side in terms of compensations, he added. And this is very important, of course. This tragic incident occurred in Russian airspace, and Russia will do whatever is necessary in terms of compensations to their families who lost their loved ones as a result of this tragic incident. But yet again, at one point, Putin stated that missiles, these interceptor missiles, didn't directly hit the planes, and he was obviously told by his advisors to say this stuff, right? He cannot know everything in this world. He is heavily relies, as any other president, by the way, heavily relies on information from his assistants. And someone from his assistants did very poor job, I think, while telling him that, well, these missiles did not hit directly, and therefore it was not, these missiles did not brought down, or did not damage these planes or something. This is nonsense, by the way. Most, if not all, most air interceptor missiles are not actually hitting the plane or alien target directly. They are exploding. Usually, many of them, if not all, many of them are exploding on approach, and shrapnels are then sent as a with a big, massive volley as a cloud towards the target, and their plane or whatever it is targeted receiving such damage that eventually it's neutralized, right? So what Russian president said in his statement was actually indicating that this was interceptor missiles that worked as they should. They approached target that they miscalculated for a Ukrainian drone, and detonated some 10 meters away or whatever their distance was in that high speeds, right? 10 meters is just nothing. It's not even a second before shrapnels will, and fragments too, by the way, for that matter. But so you see, by the way, someone has to be fired, by the way, from Putin's inner circle. Whoever give him this nonsensical stuff, whoever briefed him basically on this stuff this way, so that he, during their face-to-face meeting with Aliyev, shared this opinion that, well, it was not missiles, not shrapnels, but fragments. Come on, man. What are you talking about? But most importantly, let's say that's details, right? That indicates that clearly something is not completely okay in the circle of the Putin battle, right? He needs better advisors, better assistants, for sure, right? It's just too obvious, and there is no point to ignore it, right? You cannot ignore the issue, because issue will become even worse in that case. You have to deal with the issue, and this is issue, right? But most importantly, at this point, best what Russia can do is to assist the families who lost the loved ones in this tragic incident, and that will be done, right? Okay, okay. But if you think about what is going to happen in the relationships between Moscow and Baku, if there will be any rapprochement anytime soon, after Azerbaijan escalated on unprecedented scale with Russia, I think no. There's going to be no rapprochement until Aliyev is president of Azerbaijan. He and his regime crossed the point of no return. Yet again, my personal opinion, I don't know what Putin thinks or what his advisors think about it. Few more news, dear friends, and I guess that's about it. How long is this live stream? It's already like more than an hour, so I give you a few more news, and that's about it for the new segment itself. Republican Senator Ron Paul on U.S. strikes targeting drug vessels in the Caribbean went to say, while commenting on the matter, went to say that about 20%, 25% of the time when U.S. Coast Guard boards the vessels that are suspected basically of doing some illegal activity, the boat does not have drugs. So we've blown up 4 boats, and statistically, what are their odds? One did not have drugs. We have not heard the names of who these drug dealers are. How do you know for certain who they are before you kill them? I am not in favor of the current policy, he went to say. And by the way, Rand Paul, nowadays, he very rarely makes headlines here in Russia, at least, right? But time to time he does, and I'm paying attention to whenever I see some news about him, about his father, by the way, former congressman in US. Very clever people, I can say. Very, very wise people, at least that's my impression. Well, in this particular case, also, Rand Paul is demonstrating that he is coming from common sense while commenting on the issue. You cannot kill people and then begin justifying this by saying that these are drug dealers or this or that, right? Due process have to be in place. Due process have to be in place, and well, it is good to know that there are some people among U.S. Political class that are raising the question about criminal activity of the Trump's administration. Rand Paul did not call it a criminal activity. He did not went that far, but he is at least not in favor of such policies, right? But I will say it's a murder what U.S. did in regards to those boats. No matter were there drug dealers or not, right? It's a murder. There was no due process, nothing. Even names have not been released of the people. 21 individuals, by the way, that were killed by U.S. militaries under their direct orders and authorization from Trump. And this makes Trump a mass murderer. If someone goes on a killing spree in Washington and kills 21 people, would he be called a mass murderer? I mean, no, let's be real here. Will that person be called a mass murderer and sent to the prison for a life or even executed? Of course. Of course, right? And Trump, just in last several weeks, killed 21 people without a due process, and we don't even know who those people are. And if they did anything wrong whatsoever. Colombian side, by the way, Colombian leadership are claiming that one of the boats, at least one of the boats, were Colombians, and their boat was Colombian too, right? US didn't respond on that yet. But Colombian side is claiming that US killed the Colombian civilians on the boat. So, so same time, another news which is also related to US. White House today signed a memorandum of understanding with Finland, according to which Finland will supply the US with 4 icebreakers built at the Finnish shipyards officials from both countries stated, and this information is quite indicative of a state of the US, isn't it? They cannot even build the freaking icebreakers, by the way, right? Ordinary icebreakers. Nothing to be said about nuclear icebreakers about it. And Trump and his administration have ambitions to be Arctic power. I mean, really, learn how to build icebreakers first. You know, on the first stage, ordinary icebreakers. Then maybe in some 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, you'll be able to build the nuclear icebreakers too. And then, okay, ask Russia if Russia will allow you to become a partner, let's say, sort of in Arctic dealings. But before that, sorry, but no, just stay away, because whenever US goes, by the way, it's only trouble. Unfortunately, by the way, I mean, on a personal level, right, I would obviously prefer to see Russia and US to be friendly nations, good partner states, right? But I have to be real, man. There is not even slight chance at this point that this will happen, because there is no slight chance that US society will manage to reclaim their own country and to have a say in their own life today and in their future, or the future of their kids and grandkids. They have completely lost their own country and their say in their own destiny. Some might don't like this, but and no one should like this actually. But question is what they're gonna do about it, right? So interesting news that US is incapable of even building a simple freaking icebreakers, and they are ordering them to Finland. And while this is happening, by the way, Russia has like dozen and more nuclear icebreakers, right? And their new generation of icebreakers are coming in next several years. New generation of icebreakers are coming, and those icebreakers, by the way, look futuristic, and they are like much more capable, right, than the current nuclear icebreakers that Russia has, and they're definitely overall Russian icebreaking fleet of Rosatom definitely is in a position to make sure that Northern Sea Route is open and working year-round. That's it, right? And give it 20, 30 years, by the way, and Northern Sea Route potentially will become a main trade route for this world. There's high chances of that. Few more news, dear friends. RT is reporting that Turning Point confirms the authenticity of the leaked Charlie Kirk messages, leaked text messages in which late conservative activist Charlie Kirk admits to losing the support of major Jewish donors are authentic, according to Andrew Colwett, a spokesman for Kirk's non-profit Turning Point USA. Colwett said he had personally shared the screenshots of the private chat with the people in the government shortly after Kirk's death. He did not want to make it public because it was a private conversation that did not necessarily comport with things that were already made public. He said on the Charlie Kirk's show YouTube channel on Tuesday. The leaked messages were first shown by the conservative commentator Candace Owens, and I did share a short fragment, by the way, in previous my videos with that particular episode when Candace Owens was showing those screenshots, right? So it was shown by Candace Owens during her YouTube podcast on Monday. According to their screenshots, Kirk wrote, and this is quotes, "I just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year, because we won't cancel Tucker." The remark apparently referred to Kirk's refusal to withdraw an invitation for a fellow conservative commentator, Tucker Carlson, to speak at his America First conference. In a follow-up message, Kirk wrote that he had no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Candace Owens said the exchange occurred 2 days before Kirk was fatally shot on a university campus in Utah on September 10. So quite interesting stuff there. Quite interesting stuff. Of course, there is numerous conspiracies around the tragic death of Charlie Kirk. Numerous speculations, including about Israeli involvement in his death. And these new revelations, by the way, will of course add some additional argument to those people that are claiming that potentially Israel was behind this murder. Although, let's be real here, I have not seen no factual evidences, to connect this murder to Israel as of now. There is some indicators that are raising the questions, right? Even in regards to who shot the Charlie Kirk and with what happened that day, because some ballistic experts, some snipers even are challenging the official narrative, and we all know that, isn't it? And so, yes, there is too many questions, and I don't know if we will ever got the answers. But it is what it is. Charlie Kirk was basically planning, at least, to distance himself from Israeli lobby, let's say this way, and he was unable to do it. And this he was murdered, by the way, exactly at the time when Israel is actively losing conservative voices all over the USA, and support of conservative Americans, which is, I think, big deal. Big deal, because Israel long lost support of liberals, and now they are losing support of conservatives too. Understandably so, by the way. They are committing genocide and killing hundreds of thousands of people, innocent people. And I said hundreds of thousands because, according to reports from Lancet, well-known Western medical journal, and other sources, actual death toll as a result of criminal actions of the Israel could be 200,000, more than 200,000, and some reports even suggest that actual number of death could reach 500,000, even higher than that. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting, and I will end new segment on this news difference, that Hungary has agreed to a complete ban on Russian LNG supplies to Europe, which is quite interesting. Hungary itself does not buy, I guess, Russian LNG. Hungary buys Russian oil. And the last time I checked, Budapest was against canceling the trade deals with Russia in energy field, but I guess they are trolling. Western European states, leadership of Western European states, that are kind of demanding from Hungary to cut all the ties with Russia, including in energy field. And they are saying, no, you know what, we support LNG supplies to be cut. And so France, get rid of Russian LNG, buy twice more expensive American one. Maybe not twice, but at least 30% more expensive LNG from America, which is a huge difference, right? I guess Hungary is saying the same also to Netherlands, to Spain, to others, by the way, right? This is a trolling, of course, on a political level. So Budapest has supported the European Union's initiative to impose a complete ban on imports of Russian liquefied natural gas, effective January 2027. Okay, by the way, European economies already are in a dark place, right? And are destined to enter even more dangerous territories, right? Soon, due to anti-European policies of the European elites, and therefore none of us should be really surprised about it. And okay, that's it for today's news segment. 1.5 hour, relatively long news segment, but anyways, hopefully you did find it informative and useful, dear friends. And if so, like the video if you have not yet. This might help to deal with the algorithm, and leave some commentary, especially leave some commentary after stream answer, and definitely if you can leave some commentary if you are watching this video in few hours from now, when stream is over. And there was no super chat, by the way, unfortunately, on Rumble, but there was a donation through PayPal during the stream, and let me highlight, if I may, right now. There was a donation from Jeremy on PayPal, $25. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for your donation and support, for your attention. There is no comment from Jeremy or question to highlight, so I will highlight donation itself. Thank you very much, Jeremy. I appreciate your support. Thank you. And dear friends, I will join community chat now for a little while. Yet again, if you want to support my work, if you want to help me maintain this project, you can do it through several means. You can donate through PayPal, as Jeremy just did. You can donate through Boosty platform. Links are on this video in description box and in the pinned commenter. And right now, while I'm online, you can use the super chat feature on Rumble to donate, or become a premium subscriber on Rumble. And also there is a Patreon, by the way, of course. I was so hopeful that our Patreon community will double either last year or this year, but unfortunately it's not happening. So if you can subscribe to my Patreon, that would be great support, of course. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And I see a question from Nikos in the chat. Let me highlight his question. It's a two-part question. So I keep asking about the Ukraine situation and their politics in Russia. I forgot about you, Levan. Yesterday you told us about the loan denial. It's their central bank still keeping interest this high. And the second part of his question is, has inflation dropped? I saw eggs with prices of 40 cents, but I don't know much more. Is the Russian economy not ideal for citizens anymore? How are you? So, okay, that's the question, isn't it? When it comes to first part of the question, question is about central bank, isn't it? Interest rate of the central bank. Yes, I was denied by bank with which I'm working, where I have my accounts and stuff. I was denied loan, and I was surprised, by the way. I never had no issues, right? I have a good credit score. I never had no issues with servicing my loans or credit cards or anything, And I was unfortunately denied a loan. And yes, one of the reasons why this happened is that central bank still keeps interest rates high, and it's not just that, but central bank and financial group of Russian government, economical group of Russian government, is keep working on cooling down the economy. They are still focused on cooling down economy, and for many people, especially ordinary people like me, this is a sort of an issue because, you see, with a good credit score, I was denied loan, and I was asking for a loan not out of good life, right? So does it create issues? Yes, it does. Does it hurt? Yes, it does. This high interest rate and this work of economical bloc to cool down economy, but they are not oriented on one person or two person. They are oriented on a big picture. Their calculus is dependent on some different stuff, right? And I guess they think their decisions might harm people now, but eventually this will be good for economy and eventually good for people too. I guess that is the calculus. Interest rate of central bank right now is 17%, I believe. And you know what? When it comes to it, when it comes to this loan story that I was denied by bank, after they refused, after bank refused, I just asked her if you would approve the loan, what would be their interest rate? Because my hope was that interest rate would not be more than 22-23%, which is extremely high, by the way. But when I was calculating, I was thinking I can deal with this interest rate if loan is for 5 years, right? And I was told that interest rate would be 30 or maybe higher, 30%, by the way. And in that case, even if they would approve me loan, I would not be able to take it because it's just too freaking expensive. It's just too freaking expensive, and I can imagine it's not just people like me, ordinary people are experiencing difficulties, but also small and medium businesses that are just unable to take a loan due to current policies of the economical bloc of the government and the central bank. But yet again, I guess the calculus is that first economy have to be cooled down, and then they have to start rebuilding the stuff. I'm not financial expert. I have no freaking idea which way is better, right? But yeah, that's how it is. Interest rates of central bank. That's your question. In the third part is 17%, and banks are issuing credits even if they are giving the credits at all or loans around 30% with around 30% interest, which is freaking crazy, by the way. I mean, it's crazy. So basically, you cannot take a loan at this point because it's just too freaking expensive, even if your bank will give you one. And second part of your question is about inflation, right? Yes, you are asking is inflation is dropped or, there is inflation. There is inflation. I think inflation is under the double digits, right? There were certain months when inflation was more, you could feel it, right? There were some months when prices were not really changing that much, but inflation is there, of course, and if it will be lower than double digits, probably that will be achievement based on current situation. If But in any case, I don't think inflation overall year-on-year term inflation will be higher than 12-15%. Let's see, by the way. Let's see. Inflation is there, by the way, but it's not like hyperinflation when you go today and buy bread for, let's say, 50 rubles, and you go tomorrow and buy very same bread for like 60 rubles or 70 rubles. Prices are not changing like every day or every other day. But of course, it's Russia is a market economy, isn't it? And you give any chance to business to increase their profits, to increase prices, they will use it, right? And they do, not just because of their inflation, but because that's what business does, man. They are oriented on profits always. It is what it is. And when it comes to generally speaking about Russian economy is still doing okay. By the way, economy is still doing okay. If you want to find a job, you can find the one. Right? I might be forced to find job. I have to do two ways. I have two options now. Either I have to double down on my work in a hope that maybe maybe this I will have some uh, more support so that I be able to stay full time on this project, or I have to find day job, right? That's the only options that I have. I might try first from next week, let's say, experiment for a week or two. If nothing changes, then I guess I will go for a day job. Let's see, right? So there is that. If you want to find the work, you will find the work. How much you will be paid, that's a whole different story, by the way. Uh, but you can find the job at least, right? And yes, I mean, for ordinary people like me, by the way, life was never easy. So I'm not really, you know, what can I say, man? Life was always difficult. So is life difficult, more difficult this year than last year? No, it was always difficult. Is life more difficult than like 2 years ago or 3 years ago? No. So it is what it is, man. For rich people, life is good. For middle class, life is okay, I guess. But for people like me, and I'm not in the middle class, unfortunately. For us, for people like me, life is hard, but we can deal with it, man. We can deal with it. So economy is not collapsing. I mean, if you want to get sense how economy is doing in general, economy is not collapsing, by the way, but uh, you know, but yet again, longer this conflict continues, longer these high interest rates stay, uh, obviously more and more issues gonna emerge eventually, right? Because this situation is not normal, generally speaking, right? It is understandable that this is not our choice. Western world launched this proxy war against us way before 2022, by the way, right? And we are in fight, so therefore we have to keep that in mind too, and hardly anyone can complain actually, right? And I'm not complaining. Maybe some does, but very few, man. We are at war, so first we have to win this war, and then we can talk about rest. And I think vast majority are on the same page with me on this matter. And I'm scrolling the friends right now, looking for a capital Q or capital letters to see questions that are directed to me. So question from Nidish Kumar. Levan, do you know what's happening in Madagascar? I know there is unrest there. I have seen news, I have read news about some unrest in Madagascar, but yet again, some Generation Z. This is new thing in modern times, like Generation Z protests or something. So I have seen that there was unrest in Madagascar, but I I did not went I didn't dive deep into learn their whole situation. I mean, only so much can I do, during the day. So I don't know much. about the current state of the situation there. But I know there was a massive unrest, isn't it? And maybe it still continues. Maybe this unrest still continues, but I don't know much. And also, Nidish is commenting, Levan, Egypt, Sisi just endorsed the Trump for Nobel Peace Prize. Of course he would. Of course he will. I mean, he's a puppet of Washington, right? He's a puppet of Washington. Of course he will. How else? And he's not alone, isn't it? But yet again, according to AFP, Nobel Committee, which is a disgraceful institution at this point, by the way, yet again, this institution has been politicized, right? And any so-called international institutions that being politicized become garbage. My personal opinion, yet again, you might disagree with me, but they become garbage. And I really struggle to understand how anybody can have any respect for Nobel Committee after Obama was given a peace prize, man, for literally nothing. For literally nothing. I personally definitely don't care about Nobel Committee and their decisions. Already number of awards were given, right? In chemistry, in physics and stuff. I did not even bother to read the details about. I just don't care, man. Probably they choose some freaking gender fluid elements and they give them this prize. Probably that was main criteria or something. So I literally don't care about this Nobel Committee and their freaking decisions. But allegedly, even for Nobel, this disgraceful Nobel Committee seems to be too much to give a peace prize to Trump, by the way, that just in last couple of days assassinated 21 people. For no apparent reasons, just because they say they were drug traffickers or something, does not mean that they have any legal means to go and kill those people, right? And what about assistance to Israel in the genocide of Palestinian people? And what about illegal bombings of Iran and constant threats that they might do it again and that kind of stuff? So even that disgraceful Nobel Committee it seems like refusing to give that so-called peace prize to Trump. But it's a when it comes to Western world, by the way, you never know. It's tomorrow, isn't it? Nobel Peace Prize laureate going to be announced. So tomorrow we will learn. Tomorrow we will find out. Maybe, Nobel Committee will change its mind and give a peace prize to Trump. Who knows, man? So I guess that's about it. I see no questions directed to me. If I did not miss any, and so Spider OK is asking, is it true that most settlers in Israel are Russians? They are Eastern Europeans for sure, most of them. But definitely not only Russians or not just Eastern Europeans. Many of them are from US, for example, and from Europe. Most of them, basically, most of settlers, most of Israeli citizens, by the way, are of European descent. Let's say this way, right? And many of them are actually, yes, from Russia, and are Russian speakers. Unfortunately, they've been brainwashed in such a way that they become freaking fascists, man. I cannot believe that this is actually happening, but it is, man. True is true, right? very many people among those settlers that are taking the land and homes of Palestinians are from former Soviet Union, including from Russia, that left the country decades ago, right? When Soviet Union was collapsing or collapsed after collapse, shortly after collapse. And I don't understand how they could be brainwashed this much that they become freaking fascists, man. I don't know what happened to those people, man, but they did become fascists and they have to undergo the Nazification program. And as I said, the only way to achieve peace in the Middle East, at least to have a chance for a peace, is to demilitarize and then denazify this fascist entity, Israel and their Israelis. That's the only way if we actually want to have a chance for a peace. Everything else is just bullshit, man. Everything else is BS and just temporary measure at best. That's it. Unfortunately, there are very few leaders in this world that can say it openly, man. They, of course, they understand that this take that I just shared is a correct take. If we actually want chance on a sustainable peace in the Middle East, Israel has to be demilitarized and denazified. This is just too freaking obvious. But we're gonna do it, man, when very few leaders in this world are even criticizing actions of the Israel, man. For whatever reason, maybe because they've been compromised, maybe because I don't know, some other ties that they might have with Israel, but you know. Dear friends, there was a donation right now from John on PayPal. $13 donation, or either 13 or 15, by the way. I see here 1283, but of course these platforms take their percentage. So thank you very much, John, for your donation and attention. Truly grateful for that. And the comment from John is, good luck, Levan. So thank you, John. Thank you. And so really? Oh, okay. As I said, dear friends, when it comes to donations through PayPal, I'm only saying name. But if you don't want me to say name, I would not say it. I will just acknowledge your donation, or I would not say nothing at all. And maybe some members have same name on these platforms and on PayPal also, and want to be highlighted full name. Just let me know what to do in a comment through PayPal. It does gives you that opportunity to send a message, and I will act as you will say, because it's a private information. So obviously, in no circumstances I will reveal full name of the person if I have no permission on that. So. And Nidish Kumar is also commenting, Aliyev must not be spared after what he has done. Yet again, most unfortunate and tragic in this escalation between Russia and Azerbaijan is that Baku was acting on behalf of London, and on behalf of London's another proxy, Turkey. Right? If Aliyev's actions were strictly based on some issues, real issues between Moscow and Baku, that would be a different point, right? Sides could talk about the situation and reach some understanding, right? But because Aliyev was acting, and I believe strongly this is the case, by the way, because in my personal opinion, Aliyev, president of Azerbaijan, and his team was acting on behalf of London. They escalated with Russia because that's what London wanted. Well, uh, therefore, I don't think this can be forgiven, man. This type of behavior, I don't think this can be forgiven. So therefore, I really don't expect uh, relationships between Moscow and Baku to improve as long as Aliyev is in power. But yet again, this is my reading of the situation. What Russian president will do is anybody's guess, right? Only few people know. So uh, we will see. We will see. But yes, I'm on same page on the topic with you, Nidish. I would not forgive such a behavior. If we have a honest fight because of some issues between us, then we can sort it out, right? But if you are fighting me on behalf of someone else, that's just that's betrayal, right? Of our relationships, friendly or strategic or whatever, and therefore this cannot be forgiven, I think. And so, dear friends, I think this is it for now. We had a good conversation, isn't it? Ah, I see a question right now. Ramplens is asking, hello, Levant. Today, somebody said in the chat that Russia will introduce the digital ID. That is the plan from the Agenda 2030. Is Russia aligning with the WEF, World Economic Forum? Did you hear anything about digital IDs here in Russia? I have not seen no news about digital ID. We have a digital ruble, by the way, digital currency, digital ID. Yeah, yeah. I know about digital ruble. It's a long time already, at least couple of months, right? Longer than that. But I have not read no nothing. Maybe I missed something, but I have not read any information that Russia is planning to transfer to digital IDs. But if you take in account high level of digitization here in Russia of all sorts of services, state services, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I will not be surprised at all if yes, IDs will be digitized there. I mean, already so many services are digitized, isn't it? Через госуслуги or whatever. And digital IDs might be the next step, by the way. No, I mean you can pay in a metro, in shops, certain shops, by the way, with your face. You don't even have to have any cards with you or anything. Face recognition programs are working, and so level of digitization is already on such a scale that I don't think introduction of digital IDs will actually cause any issues here in society. Everything is already almost everything is digitized, but I have not seen yet reports about decision to digitize their IDs, right? I know it happened in UK, isn't it? Just a couple of days ago, decision was made about it, uh, and I guess this is going to be trend in direction of which many other countries will follow. Maybe Russia too. I don't know, and I don't really have a strong opinion on the matter, positive or the negative. Um, I just need to take into you know details, look into details, and what is the positive and negative sides of it, and So, dear friends, this is almost 2 hours, and so if I may, dear friends, I will end this live stream now. Thank you very much for your attention, for your support. Hopefully, you did like the video, and if so, please don't forget to click the like button. And after stream, please leave some commentary. Just tell me hello, at least. That will do. Also, I mean, more likes and comments. I think do have a positive influence on the videos. So if you can, please leave some commentary, like the video, and see you tomorrow. Thank you all.